Are we? Oh, I love this. I've been yammering for like the last 3 minutes talking to you all. Oh, here we go. Mute yourself. Welcome to my crazy. I've been over there chatting, thinking I was live. Oh, my microphone's going wacky on me. Technical difficulties this morning. Happy 4th of July to all of you here in the US. I'm, of course, in my red, white, and blue here. Got my cup of coffee. What's up, you guys? There you are. Okay, here's what happened. Let me tell you the story. I thought I was live and I see my face and I'm talking. Everything's going great. I'm like, why isn't anybody answering the questions I'm asking? Like, are you guys just ignoring me? No. Technology sometimes it's a tricky thing. So how's it going, you guys? Looks like we got Deborah here, Dana's here, Raquel, Santiago, Chile. Oh, I want to go to Santiago, Chile. That sounds like fun. What's up, Paul? Glad it works. Okay, sweet. I'm on. I was like, maybe I'm just going crazy. They've changed some of the things on the back end here on YouTube. So it's always something new and different because I haven't been live in a while. What's up, Shauna? So I'm glad to be live with you guys here and talking about just life and my story and what's going on, because I don't know if you guys know, but 4th of July is definitely an important milestone for me in my story and my business. So I want to talk about that and hopefully give you some insight into your own food photography journey, your own photography journey, as well as then share with you 5 things that I have learned since launching my business that I think are like super duper important if you're going to pursue professional food photography, that you need to know. So if that sounds good to you guys, does that sound good? I'm glad you guys are laughing at me. If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, right? Oh, Puerto Rico, welcome. So glad to have you guys here. It is 8 a.m. here. I got my cup of coffee. Ryan's in there packing right now. We're going camping. We're leaving to go camping here in the next couple hours. We're going to bug out of town because it's like 110 Fahrenheit here today. And we're like, oh, I got to get out of the heat. So we're going to go hang out in the mountains where it's going to be much cooler, and we're looking forward to it. So sound good, guys? We down for 5 things that we want to learn in our businesses? Yeah. I love it. There we go. Well, very good. So let's talk about 4th of July. 4th of July, 2015. So it was 4 years ago. I launched jonisimon.com. So it's not even that long ago. It's just, I mean, thinking about my journey and where I've been and where I am today, it's kind of crazy how quickly all of this has moved. But for those of you who've seen the How I Quit My Day Job video, and just by show of comments in the comment section, those of you who've seen that video before, definitely a very different video on my channel, but really shares a lot of the reason that I'm very passionate about what I do and, you know, who I am. And so back in 2015, went through a period of recovery and coming to terms with the fact that I needed to leave my day job because, I mean, I don't know if anybody else is in this situation, but you're in that day job and you're like, I'm a creative person. I can't be in this soul-sucking job. And so leaving that day job. And so then spending an entire month to kind of mentally calibrate and get to a place where I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I like to take pictures. I like to cook. I like the internet. And so then that's when I started jonisimon.com, which launched July 4th, 2015. And on July 4th, that day, I launched my very first blog post, which very publicly shared my story of addiction recovery. So for anybody who's not familiar with that, you can go look up my video about how I left my day job and get kind of more of the nitty gritty of that story. But I very publicly shared that on July 4th, which was a very scary thing, but like such a catalyst to then the next 4 years and where I've now since been in my business. And so launching that site and starting to share recipes and starting to share pictures. And I had been doing some photography before that for local restaurants, which is probably something you've seen in my How I Got My First Gig video, or not how I got my first gig, but like the things that I didn't know going into my first gig. But after I launched jonisimon.com, that's when I started to really connect with a lot of food brands, which I never really did figure out the whole SEO and how to make money as a food blogger, but I figured out how to build a business as a food photographer. And so I was really thankful for that whole trajectory. But there are definitely some things that like along that journey over the last 4 years that I'm like, man, those are the moments when things really changed for me. Like, you know, those things that you learn in photography that you're like, oh, holy cow, that was like super game changer, right? And so to me, these are the things that I've learned over the last 4 years that I think are super duper important, that absolutely, like, if you want to do this professionally, are the things you got to learn. If you don't already know now, you might already know all these things and you're like super professional status and you're ready to rock and roll. So you want those 5 things? You want those 5 things? Let's do it. So most of these I have made videos on, which is very fortunate. And which is why I also wanted to get on here, because I've created a lot of videos at this point. And I'm like, I feel like you want to like put them together of like, what are the greatest hits, like the top things absolutely must need to know. So any guess for the very first thing, like the first big thing that I learned in my food photography, in photography, that I think was the super game changer? Any guesses? Any guesses what it might be? Yes, you guys are excited. I love it. You're like, heck yes, Paul is on board. Any guesses what what that first thing was? Well, I'll go ahead and tell you, because I'm not going to keep it a secret from you. So the very first thing was actually then the first 5 videos that are on this channel. And it's all about how to shoot your camera in manual. To me, if you're not shooting your camera in manual, you are missing out, right? For anybody who's ever moved from auto and then finally really figured out how to shoot in manual, that's the game changer right there. That was the biggest exponential jump in the quality of my images. Now, that's not to say that I don't shoot in aperture priority when I go out to, I'm at my kid's birthday party and shooting on the fly and I want sort of more of an automatic mode. Aperture priority is great. Automatic's great. But when I'm in the studio and I'm intentionally creating a photograph, or back then when I first started my business, when I'm in my kitchen creating an image, I want total control over that image. And absolutely understanding your camera and understanding how to operate it in manual, to me, biggest game changer. So if you're not currently doing that, I know it is super hard to figure that out and super frustrating. Fortunately, I've got that playlist. It's the very first 5 videos on this channel. And after I finish this video, I'll be sure to link everything so you can go check it out. But to me, that's then when things changed. And you know how I learned to shoot in manual? This was like the craziest situation. I can't believe I did this, but I got hired to shoot a local food festival. So Scottsdale Culinary Festival hired me, and it was like 4 hours of coverage, and it was like a crazy shot list. And I go back and I think about like what I did. I was like, that was a lot of work. But I was like, today is the day. I don't know why I decided that was the day, but I'm like, this is the day that I'm going to figure out shooting in manual. Like I had like the general working knowledge of what aperture, ISO, shutter speed, like what those were, but I hadn't ever really like forced myself to do it and to find those things. And I'm going to tell you, after 4 hours of shooting a food festival, trying, really focusing on doing that, I was good. I was home free. So put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. And I think that is like a total, like anytime you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, I'm guaranteed you're growing. So if you're uncomfortable, if you're frustrated, that's a good thing. All right. So then the second thing that to me was massive game changer, like the thing that really helped me, especially in terms of, let me make sure I'm on the right track. Let's see. I took notes. I need notes because otherwise I'm just going to go in a million directions. I got to stay focused. Number 2 thing that to me, super game changer when it comes to editing, is shooting in RAW. And my favorite thing is when people aren't shooting in RAW. And I see this happen all the time in the Facebook group. If you're not in the Bite Shot Facebook group, you're welcome to join it. It's facebook.com/groups/the Bite Shot. I love watching it when people are like, oh my gosh, if you have not been shooting in RAW, you will like your life will be changed. This is so true. Just the flexibility and freedom you have in editing those photos totally changes, right? Like the availability of colors, the availability of the dynamic range, and the availability to recapture things so that you can really manipulate a photo in a way that you couldn't if you were shooting JPEG. So by show of hands, how many of you, oh, you got a screen error. Sorry, bottom feeder. So for those of you who are shooting RAW, everybody else shooting RAW. Now that's not to say I don't shoot in JPEG. Sometimes I shoot JPEG and it's great. But if you really want to be able to go to that next level, again, it's something you need to understand, you need to know about. If you need help, of course, I've got a video all about shooting in RAW. So be sure, yes. Exactly, Andrew. The JPEG is compressed. So for anybody who's not familiar with shooting in RAW and is like, oh, do I need to make this leap? It sounds a lot scarier than it is. It's not. It's just changing a setting and it's editing. And so if you want help with that process and to understand like the storage implications and the other things that go with shooting in RAW, definitely check out the video. Let me grab it. I think I got it right here. Hold on. Let's see how organized I was in my life this morning. Kind of organized. I got too many tabs open. Anybody else? Anybody else always got too many tabs open? Just me? No. But yeah, shooting in RAW is just so, so helpful. And especially if you're going to start shooting professionally, to have the flexibility to be able to really manipulate those images and have it's a non-compressed file. So you've got all the information available. So definitely highly recommend it. If you're not doing that now, jump on it. All right. All right. So then number three thing, this one is fun. This is another thing that when I see people do this for the first time, I get, you know how excited I get watching people like have these breakthrough moments? Because I remember those breakthrough moments being like, why did nobody tell me this? Right? Like you, you have those moments that you get so excited. So the number three thing that I think absolutely you gotta get on. Oh, you have 70 tabs open too. I know, I feel you. Okay, I don't have 70. I have 15. But the number three thing that I love to watch people get so excited about is shooting tethered. And not just shooting tethered, but shooting tethered with live view mode. And this is the game changer for any of us working in still life, product photography, food photography, where we're very intentionally crafting a scene. And I mean, if you've seen my setups and you've seen how I do things, you know that I'm usually on a tripod and I'm shooting tethered. That's because you're going to have a lot of control. And if you need help shooting tethered, guess what? I got a video about it. See, I told you, this is like Joni's greatest hits. These are like, if you're going to come to my channel for the first time, I should do like a blog roundup. Like these are the absolute must-haves to me. Now, you may not shoot tethered every time. You may love shooting freehand, and I say rock on with your bad self. But I think it's absolutely so, so helpful to have those skills in your back pocket, because I always think about when the situations, like when I'm on a shoot and I'm working with the clients there, or if I have a food stylist I'm working with, or I'm collaborating with other people, like we don't necessarily just want to be looking at it on the back of the LCD screen, right? We want to be able to see it on the computer. We want to be able to manipulate that right away. And so shooting tethered is the way to do that. Now, here's the tethering video. So, yep, I'm seeing Anne loves tethered. It definitely helps, right? And that very first time that you shoot with live view mode, I know you guys did this too. Like everybody sticks their hand in there. They're like, I can see my hand in live view mode, right? It is the most fun thing ever. Now, the video that I have the tethering, like how you set up the tethering and how you set up the live view and then auto import into Lightroom. Now, of course, you could use Capture One. I have Capture One. It's a great resource as well. It's a different software, but it's wonderful. It is a little expensive for some folks. Now, I demonstrated with the Canon EOS software in the video, and certainly plenty of Canon users out there. I did recently purchase a Nikon camera, or as you appropriately pronounce it, Nikon. I believe Nikon is the more appropriate pronunciation. Us Americans screwing everything up again. But the Nikon software is actually not hard to set up either. So it's Camera Control Pro 2. That's what you're going to want in order to tether with live view for Nikon. I'm going to say Nikon because I feel awkward saying Nikon anyway. But yes, having that live view software, the auto import into Lightroom, it's going to really simplify your workflow. And it's also really helpful then if you, like when you get to that point, when you're shooting on set with other people, collaborating with other people, you can see what's going on. So sound good? We down to tether? If you're not tethering now, Paul's so excited. Which Nikon? Okay, so here's what had happened was, and I'm sure I'll do a video about this at some point because I'm still getting like some experience under my belt. So I personally own too many cameras, and you should not own this many cameras. I chalk it up to, I'm an educator. I should know the various camera systems, which is actually very true because it is nice when I'm coaching different folks that I'm able to understand their language and what they're working with. So I own a Sony a6000, which was kind of where I started. And then I've got the Canon 70D. I've got the Canon 5D Mark IV. I've got the Canon RP. I had a Canon PowerShot G7X, but it got dumped in water. So it doesn't work anymore. But I still have it because I'm like, maybe, I don't think it's ever going to get fixed. Anyway, if you know anybody who can fix water damaged PowerShots, let me know. But then what I did is I was on a shoot with a friend and he shoots Nikon. And we were just talking about the way that the different camera systems do interpret specifically color. And to me, color is such an important part of my work and what really speaks to me in images. And he said, have you ever shot Nikon? And I was like, I haven't. I mean, I did a long, long time ago before I knew what I was doing and before I knew much about photography. But so he's like, well, you can borrow it was a D3X. So I borrowed that. And I really was enjoying the way that the colors rendered in a different way than Canon does. I'm not here saying like one is better than the other. They're all different. They're just all slightly different, and it's interesting. And so I did end up what I did because I was like, okay, I'm not going to go sink in like a crap ton of money to go buy the D850, even though like I was very close. That's a beautiful camera, that D850. But I was like, I don't need to go spend that kind of money when I have a perfectly wonderful 5D Mark IV. So what I ended up doing was buying a used D750 from B&H. Anybody who's looking for a DSLR and is like, I don't have the money to spend for the new stuff, B&H has great used equipment. My A6000, my Sony, was used. I bought that like 5 years ago, and it's still great. So they have a great return policy. Highly, highly recommend it. So I'm excited. I've got the D750. I did some shooting with it yesterday. Stay tuned to the Instagram. I'll be sharing images from that. But all that being said, you can tether with Sony, you can tether with Nikon, you can tether with Canon. It's all totally groovy. So if you want help with that, you've got that video. All right. Ever shot Fujifilm? I have not, Leslie. I have wanted to though. And so actually, since Ryan has started helping me with the videos, we are looking for a better video camera. And I just saw that Skylar, it's early. It's still, this is my first cup of coffee. So you guys got getting me a little grace. But Skylar, he just did the video and he talked about the Fuji. I think he talked about the Fuji. I was definitely very intrigued because the videos we have are good. The video cameras that we have are good, but there's some things that are limited in terms of the cameras that we have. And so we're like, hey, but clearly I don't need to be buying any new cameras anytime soon. I love it. All right. So Ronald, which is your favorite camera to use? Any of them. They're all great. I mean, I think they're all wonderful. Yeah. See, Phil, I get that A6000. That is a rock star camera. I've also got a really great Zeiss lens for my A6000, which, is really fun to go back to. So exactly. Oh, here we go. Jeannie's all on the Fuji bandwagon. I love it. So, okay. So we've gone through so far the things that I think are absolute, like those game changers, the things that take you to the next level, those things that if you're going to be a pro, what you got to do, shoot in manual, shoot in RAW. And not that you have to do these things all the time, but that you know how to do these things. Gotcha. Don't get it twisted. So shoot manual, shoot RAW, shoot tethered. And so then the fourth thing, what was the fourth thing? I wrote it down. And you guys know this. You're probably already like, well, Joni, next she's going to talk about artificial light. You know me too well. Absolutely. Now, I love natural light. I'm not going to lie. Natural light is beautiful. For sure. Absolutely. But artificial light, if you haven't moved that way and you're going to move into a professional food photography career, you at least need to know how to do it, if that makes sense, right? So you can be a natural light shooter. Like I was shooting some natural light stuff the other day because I honestly more often shoot artificial because I got little kids and I'm shooting all times of day and night. And so I don't want to worry about what the sun is doing. But I shot some natural light stuff the other day and I'm like, gosh, natural light is beautiful, right? It's totally beautiful. But to have the skill set. So if there's things, I always think about it. Whenever you're thinking about your food photography, and your education, you're thinking about what are those things that kind of like mentally you're like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever be able to learn that. Right. Because I remember being in that place where I'm like, I will never learn to shoot flash. Like that just seems really complicated. Right. So whatever those things that you tell yourself, like, I don't know if I'll ever learn that, like, that's exactly what you need to go learn. So you take that as like that mental note of, oh, okay, that's the thing I need to go pursue. So if you're not shooting artificial light, not that I'm like, telling you have to shoot it all the time, just to have that skill set. Because there are inevitably, Rachel Kornick has a great story about a time that she, you guys know Rachel, right? Two Love Studio. She was talking about, she had a potential gig that she was going to book and she was excited about it. but turned out she was going to need artificial light for it. And she wasn't shooting artificial at that time, didn't know how to do it. And so she wasn't able to take the job. And so I just never want to see anybody get into that situation where you're in over your head. So to me, the baseline, like if you have all those baseline skills and you understand them, you're going to be set up for so much more success in your business. Sound groovy so far? Got to go by. See you later, Isaac. This will all be, oh, Pamela's loving the consistency of artificial light. I do too. Yeah. And Marina, Flash changed my life. I know. It changed my life too. You guys changed my life. But so all that being said, those things absolutely vital. Okay. Let's talk about then the last thing. So we go back to kind of that whole process of where I started my business, right? And so much of it was kind of accidental. Like I'd love to say I set out to be a food photographer. I didn't. I set out to be a food blogger, couldn't figure out how to make money food blogging, but I figured out how to make money as a food photographer. And so for those of you who don't know, the job that I left before I left the day job was in computer technology sales. Oh, it's very exciting. Now, granted though, I was selling to restaurants, which was helpful and definitely helped set me up for success now in what I do today. Now, do I love business? No, I love photography and I love food. But what I have discovered, and I was very fortunate, I feel very fortunate, is that when I left that day job and launched JoniSimon.com 4 years ago today, and started down this road and started into self-employment, I fortunately had a background in business. Like I understood accounting. I understood profit and loss statements. I understood how to make money as a business. I understood marketing, all those kind of things. And I feel so very fortunate because what breaks my heart is seeing people, and I see this all the time when I go to, photography festivals and conferences. Like I remember so many people, the very first photography conference I went to 2 years ago, there were so many people there, brilliantly talented photographers in all sorts of mediums, but they weren't working professionally in the field because they just couldn't figure out the business side of things. And so this is why I've been so passionate on this channel. And I think recently somebody's like, okay, enough with the business videos, like get back to the photography videos. But the thing is I get so much joy and happiness from being able to do food photography full time. And I want to make sure that other people can do that. And so that's why I'm so passionate about that kind of education. And so I was very fortunate that I came in with a business background coming into then starting my own business. So that's why I got a very exciting thing. Do you guys know what this is? I've had a lot of questions about this. A lot of people saying, okay, we're getting all this great content on YouTube. We're loving all these videos, but Joni, when are you going to do a course on business? Well, I have finally created it. So I hope you guys are excited about it. I am super excited about this. This has been since January. Every spare moment that I've had, I have devoted to creating a full intensive online course that pretty much takes all that business education that I came in with, that I was very fortunate. I think, when you look at photographers, I've said this before, it's not the best photographers, like in terms of the images, who are the highest paid photographers. It's the ones who understand business, who know how to market themselves. Those are the ones who do the best. And so that's why I created a course devoted to all the ins and outs, all the nitty gritty, like literally taking my brain, putting it into an online course and giving it to you. So I don't know, anybody excited about this? Anybody excited? Oh, okay. We're getting some, Paul says, yay. Yes. Stephanie's excited. Awesome. I'm so excited that you guys are excited. Yeah, I have been working on this. I have been testing it with small groups. I have beat this thing up 50 ways to Sunday. And you guys know me too. I'm a perfectionist. So I wasn't going to put out something half-assed, because the other thing I get a lot of questions about on YouTube, on Instagram, is how do you price yourself, right? Like that is the number one question. And I remember some of my early gigs, like I had no clue. I mean, I had a business background, but I kind of felt a little lost in the photography world. And I remember booking a couple gigs and it was like, I mean, you guys have probably been here, right? Like I was talking to a food brand, they wanted recipe shots and they're like, yeah, we've got $100 budget. I'm like, sure, I can do $100. Well, you guys know what does it take to create a recipe and to photograph a recipe and to do all the photography? It's like, what, 6 hours, 8 hours if you're lucky. And so if you're getting paid $100, like do the math, I can make more at Starbucks. Like, that's not going to be sustainable for anybody. But here's the thing. Pricing is so relative to your particular business. So that's why in creating this course, I created specific tools that you use to analyze your own business, and you can run your own numbers, put it all together, understand like what are your own personal like goals, all of that stuff, like literally the tools that you just fill in the blank, and it generates everything for you. And then you can really have an informed decision as far as then pricing yourself. Because I mean, you know, you Google it or you ask people like, how do I price myself? They say, it depends. I'm answering the, it depends, answering the contracts, everything and anything, the full life cycle. Cause it's also not like, here's pricing, but then I need to be able to teach you how to, you know, market yourself and how to deliver based on value and how to put together a professional proposal. So I'm going to stop yammering about it. Here's the game plan. You guys ready for the game plan? All right, let me pull up the link here. So like I said, I have been hard at work at this. I'm so dang proud of it. I'm so excited to finally get to share this with you guys because I've been, like I said, working on it since like January. So what you can do, and this is also the fun part. So I have a wait list. I'm going to open it up. Officially, enrollment opens as of July the 10th. Yes, July the 10th. I'm like, what day is it? July 4th. So July 10th, next week, I'm opening enrollment for it. And that will be open for 2 weeks. You can sign up anytime in the course of the 2 weeks. Now, if we get like too many people signing up, because part of the course is my own personal interaction with you. It's like, not only is it the pre-recorded videos, there's 19 pre-recorded videos. There's a 40-page workbook. There are 4 templates that you can use for like your own proposals within your own business. There's also like literal like email templates for how to contact people and pitches and conversations, all those kind of things. But there's also then interaction individually, like in a community setting with me. And it's not a Facebook group. So, cause I know a lot of people are moving away from Facebook. So it is a self-contained online community where we can communicate. And then there's also weekly live streams that go along with that. So enrollment opens July 10th. Through July 22nd, and then it's going to close 22nd. Yeah, 22nd. And then at that point, the course starts August 1st. I will have everything completed, ready to rock August 1st. And then for that first month, it's going to be, you're going to have all of the course content, but then we'll have some weekly live streams each and every week. So here we go. What I've got is I have got a wait list page. If you want to make sure to know exactly when it opens up as of July 10th, the second it opens up, you can go ahead and get on that wait list. And you can go ahead and get on the wait list. And here we go. You're back. Isaac's back. Welcome back. So go ahead and sign up for the wait list, and then I'll make sure to notify you on July 10th. As far as the price tag, the current price tag on that is $385. So I really struggle with the price tag because here's the thing, guys. I want to make it affordable, right? Like absolutely, I understand that so many of you are like not making money at photography right now. I don't want to send anybody into massive debt, like, but at the same time, like, the value of what I'm giving you in this course is well and beyond. Like I've had many other educators like, you need to be charging 3 times that. And I go, no, I can't do that to my bite shop people. Like I need, so $385, there will be a payment plan option though. If you can't afford it all in one chunk, it'll be a monthly payment of $135 for 3 months. So depending on how you want to slice that, but I'm so excited to be able to share this with you. So definitely get on the wait list. Now, here's the thing. Here's what we're doing. Very exciting. And this is very, I'm only doing this like this first time. I don't think I'll do this going on, but we'll see what happens. But because I understand not everybody can afford it. Like I'm already seeing some other people going, you know, you can't afford it. And you're like, oh, I really want to be in there. I'm going to give away 2 spots. So to 2 people, I'm going to pick at random. If you hop on that wait list, 2 people will be picked at random on July 10th. So as I'm announcing, hey, enrollment is open, 2 people will get the course for free. Okay. So go ahead, hop on the wait list. I'm excited. So let's see. All right. There we go. Kim, I'm glad you think it's a good price. Okay, good. It's so hard to price it because I know that, I mean, again, I don't want to gouge anybody, but at the same time, also, I'm literally giving you what I have many, many years of my life. I've also got guest speakers in the course too, which is very exciting. We got somebody helping out with negotiation, training you on negotiation. Holy moly. But to me, those are the 5 things. That's the 5 things: shooting in manual, shooting in raw, shooting tethered. What was the next one? 4th one. Why do I keep forgetting the 4th one? Oh, artificial light. And then I think that number 5 is having business savvy. Like if you can get those 5 things figured out, you can create a great sustainable food photography business. They could be a full-time thing, like I feel so very fortunate just the way that my personal journey has gone. And so I want to be able to share that with you. And so this is what this course is. And it's called Full-Time Framework because, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from the people who've helped test it, that framework is exactly what it is. It is a start to finish. And you know me, it's no fluff. Okay, here's the wait list. And the course does cover contracts. Yep, it does, Corey. Doodlebug, the price is $385 for the course, or three payments of $135. I love it. Neen, that would be a great hey, happy birthday, Neen. I would love for this to be your birthday present. There you go. So get on the wait list. I will release it on July 10th, and you can sign up then. And then I will leave the enrollment open for 2 weeks. And then once it closes, it closes. Now I will do this if you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense right now. I'm going to do this again in another quarter, right? This is something, but the thing is there is a very interactive component with it. So it's not something I can just like my other course. It's not something I can just leave open and you can opt in and do it on your own time, because I am very actively involved in the education side of things. So that's why it's going to open and close. So we'll do this first group and then I'm hoping to do another one again in the fall. So if you need to save up, totally groovy, right? And the thing is, and I've said this before, I will never discount the products. Now we may do giveaways and things like that, like we're doing. I'm going to give away 2 free spots. If you get on the wait list, be sure to confirm on the wait list. Here we go, Brian. Here you go. Here's the wait list, my friend. But I will never discount my products. I've never put my presets on sale. I've never discounted the flash course, because I know for me, something that makes me crazy is that when I buy a course and then like 2 weeks later, they've got it 20% off. I go, that makes me nuts. So I don't want to do that to you guys, right? I just want to price things fairly. Now, certainly if I decide that this, price needs to go up, then that might happen. But at this point, that is the game plan. Jason, I'm so happy to do this for you guys because I really, I know for me, I just never found that like one-stop shop resource, especially specific for food photography. Now, a lot of what I teach in this course, if you're a product photographer or anybody in a commercial photography sense, I think there's so much like education in the consumer photography, right? Like weddings and kids photography and family photography, but I could never find anything that was great on the commercial side of things. And so I just had to go create it. I'm excited to have you guys a part of it. I love it. Miss Danny, I'm glad you're on the list. So I will be emailing you guys on July the 10th. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and open it up. Just Q&A about absolutely anything. I had some Q&A on the Instagrams too. So let's see. Oh, for any of you who are here in the US and you missed it on Instagram today, I shared my top tips for photographing fireworks, so that you can get some really great fireworks shots tonight. So if you didn't see that, head on over to the Instagrams. But let's see, I had some Q&A come in on Instagram yesterday. So let's make sure and feel free. Iru is asking, does it cover video as well? The course does not specifically cover video, although all the principles, because here's the thing, the Full-Time Framework course teaches you nothing about photography. It teaches you, it's a business. It is strictly business. There are no camera settings. There's no lighting. There's no demo. Like it is all completely business and the framework and accounting and what else do we go through? Marketing yourself, social media, website. What else is in there? I mean, I should, it's a lot. How to create a proposal, pricing, contracts, how to plan for a shoot, how to have an effective shoot, like on the day of a shoot, how to create, you know, ongoing systems to make sure that you're continually booking yourself, all the life cycle things. So that's what's in there. Now, it doesn't specifically talk about video, although all of it will apply if you're trying to create a videography business. Or for me, the majority of my work is still photography, but I do plenty of video for clients. Some of you guys saw probably the other day on my Instagram the new video that I did for Coach's Oats, which was a whole lot of fun to create. And so that is an additional way to create income, an additional income stream in your business. And so that certainly is something that I can help you out in the course, just in terms of pricing that as well. But fortunately, all of the pricing principles apply no matter if you're shooting stills or videos. All right, let's see. The business side of food and videos mean contracts. Yes, contracts. We do cover contracts in the course. That is a whole, like all the legal stuff. Do I ever have to calibrate your lenses? Dana, I have not really done that at this point. I have had them professionally cleaned. Maybe in that process they were calibrated, but I definitely think it's great to have a relationship with your local camera store, unless you are able to do it on your own. Hannah wants to know, is the course suitable for a food blogger as well? So Hannah, I would just ask, are you looking to create money in your food blogging business doing food photography? Because we don't really get into like sponsored content and things like that. That's sort of a different gig altogether. For anybody who is a food blogger and looking to know sort of rates in terms of like, what should you charge for particular content based on traffic and things like that, socialbluebook.com. I'll write it right here. Socialbluebook.com is a great resource that will tell you the value of your content from a promotional standpoint. That does not take into account the cost of production, right? That if I'm, for example, going to do a sponsored Instagram post, that there's the value of that post just for the sake of it being on my Instagram. But then there's also the cost of production. So when I'm charging a particular client or proposing a particular client, I'm taking into account both of those things. So the course isn't necessarily going to cover the promotional side of things, but the course will cover everything you need to consider in terms of the amount of time and what you should charge and your overhead and all those things related to the production. So kind of depends on where you're at in your business as a food photographer, food blogger. There's definitely, I have taught this to food bloggers. I taught an in-person version of this at a food blogger conference recently. It was kind of the, initial version of it. And they definitely got a lot of value, but those are food bloggers who are really planning certain parts of their business around food photography. Wes wants to know, what's my go-to lens focal length for food photography? So my main focal lengths, I mean, I live mostly within the 50 millimeter to 100 millimeter world. If you check out my Instagram, I always share my camera settings there, so you can really check out the focal lengths. But anytime I'm shooting, especially anytime I'm shooting head on or at a 3/4 angle, I would say 90% of the time I'm going for 100 millimeter lens. Like, I just really love that. When you talk about 100 millimeter lens, if you guys haven't seen on Dennis the Prescott's channel, he's got a great video about why he loves the 100 millimeter, really goes into some of the technical aspects of this. But when we look at a 100 millimeter lens, it compresses the background. It's kind of the opposite effect of a wider focal length, right? Like 24 millimeter, you get kind of that bowing on the edges, whereas 100 millimeter, it really it sinks things in. It really makes it, I call it snappy, right? Like, it just makes it so fabulous, which I love for food because it can really bring the food forward. I love that monumental, like, portrait sort of vibe in 100 millimeter. So that's going to be my go-to. For overhead though, and actually more recently, I've been shooting the Canon RP a lot recently. They sent that camera to me and I've enjoyed using it. I would say for anybody who's looking at it, it's not necessarily going to replace my 5D Mark IV, but it is a really cool camera. It is lighter weight. But that one's got a 24 to 105 lens on it, which has been kind of fun to play with. But for me, like, if I was to go down to only 2 lenses, it'd be 50 and 100. That would be my pick. All right. Isaac wants to know what's lens correction in Lightroom. Great question, Isaac. So when you're in Lightroom and you see kind of panel down what he's talking about, anybody who's not familiar, it says lens corrections. You can click that on. So what that's going to do is that your Lightroom is interpreting based on the data that came out of that camera, saying this is the camera we're shooting this with, and specifically this is what lens was shot with, which is crazy. Like the amount that computers know is so cool. So it's going to know what lens you were shooting with. Well, every lens has its own little personality to it and little things which you may or may not like. May have some character that you're like, I just want to remove that. Like certain lenses kind of bow on the edges, or, there's a little distortion, things like that. So lens correction will correct any of that specific to that lens you're shooting with. Sometimes I use that, sometimes I don't. If you've not played with it, just hit it and you can kind of see. Now, there are certain lenses that I own where it really doesn't change it at all. And you're like, well, what's that all about? So just kind of depends. All right. Let's see. 100. Yep. Paul, exactly. 100 millimeter gives a real great true perspective. Continuous light versus flash for food photography, Reza wants to know. Great question. So I would say, there's definite advantages to both. I would say if you're looking to become a professional food photographer, do this as a full-time profession, you should learn flash so that you have that skill, because flash is going to be infinitely helpful in situations where you have unpredictable lighting and you need total control. There are things that flash can do that continuous can't, right? Just in terms of the way that flash works. So flash has the ability that you can completely cancel out any sort of ambient light. I always give the example, like when I'm in a restaurant, and this has happened before, and you have to shoot in this particular situation because of whatever given limitations. Like for example, there's a video coming out August 1st on my channel. It's a collaboration with my friend Susie Eaton. She's a super talented food stylist. And we went to a local restaurant here in Phoenix, and we did a photo shoot together and captured all the behind the scenes footage, our step-by-step process, the communication with the client. So we were super excited to share that video with you August 1st. But we're shooting in a room in the back. It's like where they do all their catering, and there's no windows, right? And it's all just overhead lights. We don't have the ability to turn off those overhead lights because they're still working in the catering area. So if I had a continuous light, it would not overpower those overhead lights. I'd have a mixed color in terms of the, all those sort of things. So just having flash simplifies that situation because you can override it. Now, if you are working in a totally controlled environment and you're always shooting, like for example, me in my studio, if I'm always shooting here and I'm not having that unpredictable situation, then, continuous can also work great. But you're just going to find you're going to have additional power and you're going to have additional control with flash. So that's my 2 cents. Gregory, here you go. Here's the link to get on the wait list for anybody who has just showed up. I'm launching a new online course, Full-Time Framework. It is your full guide to getting your food photography business up off the ground and making it sustainable. And you can get on the wait list. The enrollment opens July 10th, and I'm giving away 2 free spots to anybody who signs up on that wait list. So you got the wait list right there. All right. Corey wants to know crop sensor versus full frame. And actually, okay, so if you probably follow Lauren from That Sage, and she's got a great video she just released yesterday talking about the differences of crop versus full frame. For me personally, I shoot both. Like, one's not better than the other, really, truly. And maybe people will start rioting in the streets when I say that. Like, neither one is better. They're just different. And you have to understand like the implications of, if you're going to shoot a crop sensor camera versus a full frame, that like, for example, 100 millimeters on the crop sensor is going to look a little different because it's going to be just less real estate, right? Like the sensor is not as big, so it's a little cropped in. So your final image will be just a little cropped compared to if you had shot it on full frame. So what does that mean? Well, if you're shooting if you're shooting on a cropped camera, you're just moving back a little further to get the same sort of view that you would get on the full frame. But one is neither better nor worse. Like you can have, you know, the camera that I started my business with, that I shot 2 cookbooks with, that I shot hundreds of restaurants with, that I did tons of like great work with, was a crop sensor. It was the Canon 70D. It's a little rock star. Like I was thinking about selling it recently because I'm like, I really don't need this camera anymore. Like I have got too many cameras, but I don't want to part with it because it's like, I love that camera. It did such good work for me. And it's still a great camera. I still shoot with it sometimes, just for fun. On Instagram, you'll see some photos and I'm like, nobody's going to say that's a crop sensor camera. It's not going to happen. Waitlist app, Passion. Here you go. It's right here. Go ahead and hop on that waitlist. Oh, good. I'm glad you love that, Sage. Yeah, Lauren and I, actually, you guys know what's coming. Let's see. What's today? Yes, next Thursday. You know what's coming next Thursday? Lauren and I are doing a collaboration together. We are doing, this is happening. It comes out next Thursday, so stay tuned. Same bat time, same bat channel, but 8 a.m. Pacific time. We're doing a collaboration, and it's on lighting, which I know every time I do a video on light, everybody's like, yes. And so we're doing a video on light, a very specific technique of light. Any guesses? Any guesses? I've been teasing some of the images over on Instagram stories. So let's see. Who are the people that inspire you in food photography world? Oh my gosh, so many. Andrew Scrivani is probably one of my total favorites. He does the food photography for the New York Times. He's got a lot of YouTube videos, super amazing. I've never met him. I would love to meet him at some point. I would hardcore fangirl if I ever met Andrew Scrivani. I'd just be like beside myself. But I adore his work. I'm trying to think. I mean, there are so many talented folks in the food photography world. Steve Hansen, he's also got a lot of great stuff. I don't do Steve Hansen's style in terms of like that high speed, like splashes and crashes, but I think it's really, really cool. Definitely he inspires me. And I learned a lot, you know, watching his stuff. Again, I'm not necessarily doing like the floating food or flying food, but understanding the principles of what goes into what he does has a big impact. So let's see. Nicoletta wants to know, can you use a 45 millimeter for food photography? Absolutely use 45 millimeter. If you're on a crop sensor camera, that's actually going to read more. Now, my math is terrible, but that's going to read more like maybe 60, 65. So that's going to get you enough view that you can see what's going on. I like to do overheads with a 50 or 45. So 45 is great. That's a great place to start. Shauna got it right. Shauna got it right. We're going to be talking about hard light. Yes, this has been a very highly requested video. So we're each doing a video on different like strategies showing you. And my video, I've got 3 different setups. I think she's got 3 different setups in her video too. So you can see the various different ways you can achieve that harsh light with both natural light and artificial. So definitely tune in next Thursday. And we're also doing a photography challenge along with that. So we would love to have you participate in that. Let's see. Let's see. Do you have all your own? Do you do all your photo editing? Brian, great question. I currently at this stage in my career do all of my own photo editing. I'm not doing anything super advanced. Now, I mean, I've got certain situations where I'll do some composites. I mean, I'll be the first to say that I am not like a Photoshop guru. I know enough to be dangerous to get what I need to get done. But like anytime there are certain situations, I've got certain clients where we do like packaging, that then I do have somebody do the clipping and can do all of that sort of knockout stuff. But and a graphic designer who I have contact with. But outside of that, 99% of what I do myself. How do you get great? Okay, so Corey wants to know, how do you get great overheads in a restaurant? Standing on chairs. So Corey, here's my take. Well, are you going? If you're going because you're having dinner there, I don't recommend standing on chairs because I think you should just enjoy your meal. If you're there, you're there doing a photo shoot as they are your client, I don't generally at this point recommend standing in the chairs because I mean, unless you're in a situation where you have to, but I just think that, you know, I don't want to get my muddy shoes on their chairs, or like there are certain situations they pay a lot of money for that furniture. And you wouldn't walk in somebody's house and stand on their chairs. So I kind of say the same for restaurants as well. Back in the day when I first, started out, I'd do stuff like that. But now I'm like, just knowing restaurants and what they pay for stuff, I just go, it's not so great. So I always bring a step stool with me when I'm shooting in restaurants. All right. Let's see. Okay, Marina wants to know. Oh, well, it sounds like you're having a conversation. That's awesome. Pierre's helping you out. Always keep in mind, if you want the larger the light source, the softer the shadows, right? My artificial lighting video, you guys have seen that, right? You've seen that? I talk through all those principles of how that changes. Here, hold up. There it is. All the links. Here's all the links. Again, too many tabs, Joni. I should make my life easier here. Oh, let's see. What else we got going on? Any other? Photographing cold desserts in a warmer room. Work fast then. It's the reason I have a dedicated AC. That's the other thing that's going on over here. Have you guys seen what I'm doing over here? It's very exciting. So currently where we are, we moved to this house 2 years ago. And I had a studio in our other house, but we moved to this one because this is an acre property. There's no homeowners association. We can really, it's a lot of artists live in this neighborhood. So we can kind of go a little berserk. And so we had kind of grand visions of what we can do with this property, but we had to build like a temporary studio for me. So we enclosed the patio, like it was a back patio on the house. We just put walls up around it and then installed a dedicated air conditioner, which really helps when I'm shooting ice cream. So if you don't, if you're in a warmer room, I do have a video, Jason, on shooting ice cream, and it's got some recommendations of like using dry ice and other things like that to help keep the food cold. But yeah, definitely having a good game plan will be very, very helpful. Oh, but here's the thing we're working on. Sorry, I get so distracted. So I've got the temporary studio, but we're building the big studio because why is this important? Why does this matter to you? You're like, great, you get a big studio, Joni. No, this is great because then I can have you guys like literally over. I can have you over into the studio. This little space that I've got right now, I can't hold workshops out of. The new studio that we're building is 1,400 square feet, and it's got plenty of room for me to hold small workshops. So it's going to take a while. It's going to probably take better part of the next 9 months to a year. But in 2020, I'll start to have small, intimate workshops. We're talking like 3 to 4 people, because if I do a workshop, like my happy place is having a small group so that I can individually connect with everybody. But then also talking to folks about potentially hosting some folks here, like Lauren from That Sage and a number of other folks who I've been chit-chatting with, having some guests as well and doing some guest workshops. So stay tuned. There's just so much excitement going on. I can't even handle it. Oh, let's see. All right. Exactly, Dana. Build it and they will come. Paul, I would love to have you. Come on over. The fun part is too, I live in Arizona, right? And Arizona is a tourist destination. Not this time of year. Don't come in June. Maybe like June's the worst. July's the worst. It's not going to get prettier until like October. But the rest of the year, we have so many fun things. You can visit the Grand Canyon. You can go to the, what is it? Well, there's lots of natural scenery and beautifulness here in Phoenix. So you can come, you can enjoy, do all the touristy things, come to a food photography workshop. It's going to be amazing. I'm so flipping excited. All right, Marina, if you can only choose one modifier and you can only afford one for flash in restaurants and home projects. So it sounds like you're going to be moving around, Marina. I would go for some sort of umbrella because umbrellas are easy to close and open. Kind of more of your traditional soft boxes. They're a real pain in the neck to put together. I'm not going to lie. So an umbrella is a great situation. One of the things that I like to do, so Impact, they have some pretty inexpensive, and it's just like the rod. If you watch the artificial light video that I linked before, if you hop over to my YouTube, you're on my YouTube channel. Hello, Joni. If you hop over to the video that I've got about artificial light, I show how to set up kind of the, to put that whole situation together as far as getting the rod in the holder so you can shoot into the umbrella. Usually they have like a silver lining in it or a white lining in it. So then it bounces back out the front. And then I also add a layer of diffusion to that. So you can buy a diffuser along with that. But those are really easy to set up. And that's mostly what I use for restaurants. They're also pretty inexpensive. So if you want, like I would say a good middle of the road size, I'd have to look at them specifically. You don't need one of the big giant 7-footers. That's unnecessary. Something like, what is it? Like 50 inches ish, I would say is a good, like if you find a 50-inch or somewhere in the 40 to 55 range for an umbrella, that would be great. And then get the diffuser with it. And that'll be pretty inexpensive and a great solution for putting things up and taking things down. Flipping excited, Paul. I also apparently I use a lot of British terms. Somebody said like opening a can of worms. I use that term. That's as British apparently. I didn't know that. I was like, well, I use it. Oh, Stephen, I'm sorry you got a second degree sunburn. See, I clearly wear my sunscreen. I'm also probably the whitest person in Arizona. Casper the friendly ghost here. I love it. Aye, and say, perfect. I love it. Well, very good. Okay, let's see. How about the food was hot, but styling it. Oh man, food styling. Here's the thing with food styling. That's a whole other ball of wax. I always say in the food styling arena, I know enough to be dangerous. I do a lot of my own food styling, depending on the client's budget. But like if you want that next level food styling stuff, this is why I'm so excited. So my friend Susie, who I told you we're doing a collaboration video. We just filmed it this week. It's going up in August. She's starting a YouTube channel. Well, she has a YouTube channel, but she's going to start creating more videos all about food styling. So you definitely got to go tune into her channel. I would say the place to follow her right now is on Instagram. If you go to @SusieEaton_Designs, you'll have to go find the URL, but, start following her because she's got a lot of know-how. She's super duper talented. So, all right. I think at this point I've got an hour. You guys have been hanging here for an hour. Still a lot of folks here. So we've answered a lot of questions. Let me make sure I got the thing. I promised I would answer questions from Instagram. So let's see. There's a lot of people asking for the book club to come back. I think we're going to have to do another book club. You guys down for that? I've got a couple books that I'm working on right now, all technique-based stuff. So this would not be business-based stuff. It'd be technique-based stuff. Let's see. Oh, somebody asked on Instagram, wanted to know what's your go-to budget artificial lighting suggestion? So as far as flash is concerned, definitely get yourself a speed light. And there are certainly speed lights range in terms of price. But I started out, my very first speed light was a Yongnuo 564. I've got my artificial lighting page. Artificial lighting gear guide. Here we go. Just so you've got it. All right. Where is it? Here we go. There it is. Okay. So the Yongnuos where I started out, they are super inexpensive. They're great. They're not going to last forever, but they're a great place to start. I also really like the Godox, however you pronounce it. The TT685 is one that I have. Although if you can spring for the V860, that's a great one because it comes with a rechargeable lithium ion battery and it's got a faster recycle time on it, which if you're new to the world of flash, that might seem like jibber jabber. Just know that if you're willing to spend a little bit of extra, go for the Godox V862, I think is what it is. It's on the gear guide. I think that's a great speed light to get started with. Now, if you're looking for studio strobes, I shoot Godox. This was what was hilarious to me. I was a producer on a shoot recently, a high-end commercial shoot. It was a friend who was doing it, but I was a producer for him. He's like, can I borrow your Godox lights? He's shooting a medium format, Hasselblad camera, 50 megapixel and, all this other fancy stuff. And I'm like, of course he's going to have the pro photos or he's going to have, well, no, not the pro photos. He's going to have the Broncolors and all that. No, he's shooting Godox. It's so easy. And they're so affordable for what they are. So I have the 8600 Pro. I don't think that's necessarily necessary for, I love it because I don't feel like I'll ever outgrow that one. If that's too expensive for you, go for the AD400. That's going to give you plenty of horsepower for most food photography work. What you can also do now, of course, I'm a big fan of B&H and I buy most of my stuff there, but Adorama if you look at their Flashpoint Explorer series, it is the same exact stuff as the Godox. So the Godox AD600 Pro on B&H is the same exact as the Flashpoint 600 Pro over on Adorama, and it's a little less expensive. So that would be my recommendation in that regard. If you're looking at a continuous light source that's affordable, I actually what I have lighting my face right now is the Godox SL 150, and they're not sponsored. Like, I've bought all my gear. The only gear I have not bought was that Canon RP, but I've spent enough money with Canon over the years. But yeah, the Godox SL 150. Skylar's got a review of, I think, the 60 watt one on his channel, which is great. I do like the 150. It puts out a little bit more output. And I want to say it runs like $250. And then it's got a Bowens mount, so you can put any sort of softbox on it. So I can use all of the softboxes that I use for my mono lights. I can also use on that continuous light. So those are my artificial lighting suggestions. Bueno. Did you start your website before you felt you were ready skill-wise? Shannon, I don't even think I'm still ready skill-wise. No, no. I definitely think you will never feel ready. Like, you're always going to feel tentative about your skill set and where you're at and what you're doing. So for sure. Now, I think you got to know kind of like, there have been plenty of shoots where I'd say, like, for example, my very first shoot that I did for Nor Bullion, you know, those little bullion cubes. I remember I took that job and I was like so nervous about it. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. But like, there's that little thing, you know, there's those situations where like deep inside of you, you know, you can do it, but you're really scared and you're like, you have 100 excuses why you should say no. If that's what's going on for you, then you say yes. Because like at the end of the day, you know you can do it, but you're just scared out of your mind. So it's good to be scared out of your mind, because then it's those situations. Every one of those shoots where I went into something that I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Those are the moments that I really like had big leaps forward and I really grew. So you need to start. Now, we went through in this video, I really highly recommend, like, if you're ready to get started, you need to be shooting in manual, or at least know how to shoot in manual. You need how to shoot in RAW, you know, how to shoot tethered, how to shoot with artificial light. Like, if you have those skills, maybe you're not like amazing at them, or you're still kind of learning some of them, but you have some familiarity and you feel good about it. Like, there's no reason you shouldn't be getting started in your food photography career. I mean, heck, I started my food photography career without those things. So this is just me telling you, like, if you learn these things now, this will make your journey a lot easier. But don't make excuses. Get started, right? So, I'm glad you guys are here. Fake it till you make it. Amen, Paul. There you go. All right. Well, I have yammered on enough. So just a reminder, we have Full-Time Framework. I'm so excited to release this to you guys. Enrollment opens on July the 10th. July the 10th. Here we go. Where's my screen here? July the 10th, that opens up. I'll be sending some emails. Now, I'm also not an email spammer for anybody who's on my list before. You know that I'm not going to do some sort of like daily email to you and remind. If you want in, great. It's a great resource. I'm so excited to share it. If you don't, I'm not going to harass you. You know me. I treat people the way I want to be treated. Let's just be honest. But I will be giving away 2 free spots. So get yourself on that wait list. And I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you have a great day. Happy 4th of July to all of you here in the US, to all of you in Canada. I hope you had a wonderful Canada Day. I love you guys to bits. I'm so thankful and grateful for you all. And let's do this again, okay? I'm actually going to be live again in 2 weeks. I've got a guest. She does a lot of cookbook work. I'm excited to bring her on. So we got so much fun coming up. So anyway, stay tuned. Big hugs to you guys. Oh, let's see. Hold on. Let's see. How old were you when you started your photography journey? It's a good question. How old was I? How old am I? I don't even know. I think if I was born in 1982, how old does that make me? This is terrible. You know, you get to that point where you're like, how old am I? I don't know. Anyway, 38, 37. I in earnest started my career though in 2015, but I first picked up my camera in 2009. So anyway, with that, you guys take it easy. Stay out of trouble. I'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.